Hello everyone, Resonance here, and today I'll be giving you all my commentary on the final match of the Game 5 series between the two teams, TyRanT Legends and NC and Friends Arma. As you are probably aware, these matches are part of the group stages of the War is Coming tournament that is currently being hosted on Voobly, and you can find more information on it as well as links to download the replays on Aoe2 Zone in the video description below. I will also have links to watch the rest of the matches with my commentary in the video description as well. In a moment, I'm going to go turn back on the overlay, which will spoil the results of the previous games, so make sure you watch those first. And of course, your feedback is appreciated, so feel free to leave me a comment and tell me if this is the type of thing that you'd like to see me do more of in the future. Thank you so much for your continued support, guys. Right now, the series is tied 1-1, and both teams have looked very evenly matched. The team that wins this match will get the 5th group stage point, and it will decide whether TyRanT Legends emerges nearly undefeated with 5 points, or if NC and Friends Arma can take a point off some of the best players that competitive Age of Empires 2 has to offer. Like I mentioned in the previous part, these final matches will be played as a 2v2 on the game type deathmatch. And of course, in the game mode deathmatch, every player starts with a large stockpile of each resource, and everyone begins in the Imperial Age with every available technology researched for their civilization. Alright, without further ado, let's jump straight into the final match of the best of 3 series for that very important 5th point. Now, before I unpause the game, I am going to take a brief moment to introduce the players to you guys. On the bottom right half of the map, we have the team TyRanT Legends, which are looking to end this 5-game series just like they started it, with another convincing victory. In the far right corner of the map, we have Jordan23 playing as the Blue Goths. At the bottom corner of the map, we have the Viper playing as the Yellow Huns. And across the map in the top left side, the team NC and Friends Arma hopes to end this series on a high note and prove that they are once again able to defeat the top teams. On the top corner of the map, we have Shine playing as the Teal Goths. And at the far left corner of the map, we have Nilpfert playing as the Red Huns. I'll tell you guys, this series has been one hell of a roller coaster, and I cannot wait to see how it turns out. Got 3 stables coming out immediately from Nilpfert, as both sides are going to do exactly what they did during the previous games and send their scouts immediately to the opposing bases and do some heavy raiding. If you do not put down some military buildings right off the bat on deathmatch, you are going to get screwed by the enemy scout, as he's going to come in here and do a ton of damage to these villagers, maybe even delay a stable coming up. Some great micro here from the Viper, as his villager not going to take any damage. Going to go straight into that TC, juggle that scout a little bit. Paladin going to come in here and take out this Hussar, but not before he takes out a villager. So looks like both sides are going to get a little bit of value from their scout. And boy, Goths versus Huns, this is going to be quite crazy. Already, mass Huskarl spam right off the bat, marching across the map at breakneck speeds into the opposing bases. These, neither side caring at all that they are going to get swarmed in just a moment. The Goths versus Huns, like in this game, is a really peculiar one, in that the Huns really do struggle against the Goths in the super duper late game. Now, the Goths are not known for their very strong early game due to their, lack of walling ability, their lack of any true economic bonus, but in the late game, they can just spam these Huskarls, which are incredibly hard to deal with, and the Huns, they don't have champions, they only get 2-handed swordsmen, and champions are great against these Huskarl units because the Huskarl has such low melee armor, or Dura armor. And you don't get champions, and if you spam paladins to deal with the Huskarls, then they're just going to make halberdiers. You don't get hand cannoneers either as the Huns, so if both sides end up swapping their targets, because right now the bottom half of the map is a mirror match, then this could get really interesting real fast. Pretty standard from the both Huns players here, going to make almost nothing but cavalry units, which is all fine and dandy. But deathmatch really does favor the aggressor most of the time here. As we can see, just the fact that Nilpfert was in this base did end up delaying the market for the Viper, did end up delaying this castle. He never got it down. These villagers did have to stop building these archery ranges, and it's allowing Nilpfert to get on a lot of pressure. But Jordan here gonna try and pressure Shine to make up for that. What's interesting is that he's actually taken this huge group of Huskarls over here on the left side, and he's gonna try and bring this in and see if he can just kill some of those villagers. But we're going to have a castle up from Shine, which will be able to protect his villagers here, so hopefully he can build more infrastructure. You never want to put down a town center immediately, otherwise you're going to get slaughtered by that enemy scout. You need a response to him immediately. And what I like to see as well is there's a bunch of champions being mixed in here from Shine. Champions, like I said, they're the answer to Huskarls, ideally, if you can. and that should be able to give him a huge edge in this fight. Bottom half of the map looks like it's pretty even, but favoring, well, Nilfgaard is a little further forward, but the Viper has the higher score here, as he did get a lot of kills. If you look at the population, Nilfgaard slightly ahead, but really this game is looking remarkably even, and that's exactly how I want this series to end. My goodness. I'll tell you guys, you know, it looked like, you know, the TyRanT Legends very heavily favored, obviously, in this series, but boy, NC's been looking promising, and the fact that they managed to take a game off of TyRanT has been great. I actually have no idea who is going to win this game. I think it could go either way. Looks like the Viper is going to do something very interesting. It's going to take a group of Paladins and send it up to assist Jordan versus Shine here. Shine's going to have to retreat, and this is maybe the moment the TyRanT needs, because the infrastructure really isn't done here. This castle only being built by one villager, very, very vulnerable. None of these castles are up yet. Town Center just going to finish. Siege Workshop coming up as well, and Shine not necessarily prepared for this. But the nice thing here, though, is that this does give the Viper some breathing room, because we know that Nilfgaard is ahead right now substantially on the population front. So by forcing Nilfgaard to go send some guys to go help over here, this does give the Viper a little bit of breathing room, and he might actually be able to build up a bit off this. Shine took a ton of damage from this constant harass, and the nice thing going on over here is because Jordan, you know, being really cheeky and basically mimicking what Nilfgaard did in Game 1 by sending a bunch of guys to go pull some of the enemy units over here, do some raiding. This is too early in the game for there to be static defenses everywhere. This is too early for there to be a defensive castle to protect this. So if you're raiding somebody, you're attacking his villagers, his buildings, his town centers, you're going to have to pull back your relatively immobile Goth army all the way back, and it's going to allow the opponent to pressure you a lot more. Like, look at this one Paladin could do a lot of damage over here, and they're going to have to send something to go deal with that. However, Jordan here comes prepared. Defensive castle right in the trade line. Great positioning on a hill as well. Going to take out that Paladin. He doesn't have to send anything back, which is why I love defensive castles. They are great. Now, the interesting thing with Huns on Deathmatch is that they have a very poor variety of units at their disposal. Sure, they have a pretty good trash line, as in the units that don't cost gold. You know, the Hussar, the Halberdier, the Skirmisher, but, you know, they don't get Onagers. They only get Mangonels, which is pretty bad. You usually want Onagers in Deathmatch. They don't get any gunpowder or anything like that. So, also, yeah, that means they're pretty gold reliant, and once the gold runs out for the Huns players, they're going to get steamrolled by the Goths, because the Goths Huskarls are the trash-destroying kings. They just absolutely eat through all the Hussars and everything, and this castle not going to go up. Gosh, that castle is so close, but denied by Nilfgaard, as he is just on fire during this series, making a huge pop lead in the early game. Gonna secure this hill, and holding onto these hills in deathmatch is really important. Although the Viper here gonna respawn, get out some siege rams, which is the one good siege unit that the Huns do have. Don't get heavy scorpions either, which are also a staple and would be, you know, really great. They're staple in deathmatch, not so much a regular random map, and they'd be great against these mass cav archers, but they don't get them. What this means is that since the Huns aren't able to counter opposing Huns players very well, this matchup between civs is actually incredibly snowbally. You know, you can't just make a miracle response unit, and we were talking really heavily about this concept of value, trading, you know, one unit for several of the opponent in the last part of this series, and you can't do that in a Huns versus Huns matchup very easily, because you don't get Onagers, you don't get heavy scorpions, things that can 2-for-1 your opponents, you don't get very good monks, and monks aren't very good in this situation anyway against them. Heavy cav archers, so once one player gets a lead in the Hun v Huns matchup, it can be pretty tricky. Good news is, though, this castle was taken down, so the Viper will be able to actually complete this wall off. I think it's closed off. I think there's a small tree behind there. And yeah, right now, it's looking pretty even. The Viper just a little bit behind Nilfgaard, as he does have this hill, which is of utmost strategic importance. Good news is, though, there is another hill back here to defend. It's amazing how in-depth the strategic portion, like the military strategy in Aoe2 can actually be. You don't really get to see it so much, since the games, tend to end very quickly on random map, but in deathmatch, it's all about that, as Jordan here going to throw away a bunch of units actually for free here. This is not good, as there's just so many heavy scorpions, and like I was just mentioning, they're great. They're great at trading. And boy, when you have such a superior military lead over here, you gotta pull out. So Jordan losing all those units is gonna set TyRanT back incredibly far. Look at the population difference. NC looking strong, holding on to this hill, and when it comes to trebuchets, you never want to be that guy who has to use his trebuchets defensively to focus down the opposing trebuchets while he's trebuing your castle. I mean, you gotta, and it's something that's good to do, but ideally you want to be the person shooting at the castle. That way, you know, the opponent has to go repair the castle, and you really do drain their economy. As long as you're not sustaining too many losses, the aggressor very heavily favored. These Huskarls, though, gonna make short work of these heavy scorpions, as heavy scorpions need to be attended. They need to be backed up by something, but Jordan here is sending his army elsewhere. He's gonna lose all these heavy scorpions. These Huskarls gonna get into their economy, and remember, guys, the Goths have a very powerful extra attack bonus versus buildings with their infantry. It's gonna be really bad for Jordan. He's falling insanely far behind. Shine is pop-capped at 210, and Jordan is behind by like 70 population. That is awful. Shine gonna be able to, you know, get into here and maybe even kill these markets, as this castle isn't gonna be able to protect all of them. Huskarls, incredibly strong raiding units if they can get there. They might be slow, but boy, are they powerful, and it's gonna take a miracle to save TyRanT at this point, as I'm not quite sure exactly what happened at the top here. It's just Shine got a huge, huge lead. I do love the decision on his part to make some bombard cannons, though. Those will be great to, you know, siege down your opponent's castles from a distance, take out those mass heavy scorpions and whatnot. But yeah, throwing away all these units at the top here, Jordan has set himself up for disaster. You can't really kill enemy Huskarls that easily without actually making your own units. Oh, but it looks like Shine, though, is going to go do something crazy with his villagers. I don't know, they're in the wrong neighborhood, guys. If this is Aoe2 HD, I would say the unit pathing somehow just got worse. As these villagers have gone AWOL and have tried to defect into Jordan's base, but I'm sure Jordan is not going to let that happen. Well, the Viper here, once again, actually managing to gain the edge back in population, but still very, very close on this side. Really, it's all up to Jordan. If Jordan can make up for falling behind, all right, looks like Shine wanted to build a barracks here. I mean, like, that's yeah, dream big, man, dream big. Probably not going to work. Barracks is a bit too deep. But yeah, it's all on Jordan. If he can build back, if he can get his economy strong enough off this, then TyRanT has a shot. But it's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be really, really tricky. In these mirror matches, they can be relatively snowbally, but the Goths do have things at their disposal to deal with the opposing Goths and counter them better. It's all about the counter units. Like, you can make hand cannoneers, which are great in this situation, heavy scorpions as well. The side effect, though, is that since Jordan is very weak, this means the Viper is going to get 2v1, and yet miraculously he's still maintaining a pot lead over Nilfair. That is absurd. And the reason that is because the Viper, learning from game 1, has realized that the macro-oriented playstyle of NC in the first game was really critical, and what kind of snowballed them a little bit. Look at the civilian population. The Viper has like 40 more villagers than Nilfair. So, even though the Viper has a smaller, larger army size total, when Nilfair loses a guy, it's a lot harder for him to actually replace it, and Jordan here realizes he's far behind, and he's bringing in one of my favorite units, the Onager, the king of 2 for 1, or 1 for 5 even. The Onagers here will be able to take out a ton of cavalry archers for the price of 1, as long as you don't walk into a castle like that. Tends to make the trade a little bit less favorable, but yeah, when you're behind, you want to use units that can trade favorably with your opponent. Get them in a 2 for 1 trade or more, or raid. You know, the fact that TyRanT hasn't been able to really make any offensive plays this game does concern me, even though they are showing signs of life, and Jordan actually miraculously managing to come back. The shoe almost on the other foot. What a close game. But TyRanT is going to need to make an offensive play if they want to seize this victory. They're going to have to do something. Because, you know, if you're defending the entire time, then that gives so much map control to the opposing team. This will allow NC to basically trade unopposed. Jordan did try to raid the trade line over here, but he didn't have quite enough guys. I expect Jordan, though, to start trying to really push up here a little bit. Both teams here prioritizing the relics a bit, and looks like the Viper did end up getting an unfavorable engage, and the trebuchets here gonna start really removing the military infrastructure, slowly moving the line forward. The very slow push strategy. Got to protect those trebs, move the line forward slightly. This castle gonna go down, though. Nilfair actually not repairing this one, whereas the Viper is in a position where these castles aren't a hill, so this does favor him from an elevation standpoint, and with this castle down, it's going to be a little harder for Nilfair to reinforce this line, and it does leave him a little bit more vulnerable to the Huskarls, which are going to come in, clean up those pesky cab archers, and we're reaching this point in the game where the Goths are starting to matter a lot more than the Huns. In fact, I feel like the Goths are the really important one here. Why? Because as the Huns players start to run out of cash, well, they really don't have an answer to the Huskarls, and assuming the trade line stays alive and well, the Huskarls are going to be really scary. Really scary. So the Huns versus Goths is just not an ideal thing. Now, the Viper is going to be attributing a little bit of gold to Jordan again because he knows that those Huskarls are going to be really, really critical. And Jordan also needs to have an answer to these Scorpions. I would love to see maybe a few Onagers up here. Bombard Cannon's also a good idea. He's going to make an Onager right now to try and deal with those heavy Scorpions. He has to. But he has to be careful with the siege weapons as well because the Huskarls will eat right through those like butter. Wow, TyRanT here. Holding the line, actually. Wow. Nilfair was looking terrifying. Look at the Viper's eco. He's not fucking around this time, guys. He knows that getting that 5th point, very, very important for the group stages. Look at that eco. 154 villagers, guys, in a 200 pop game. If there's one thing I want you guys to take away from all the videos that I do in Age of Empires 2, the secrets, it's all in the economy, man. That is your secret weapon. You can afford to take bad fights and be behind and make a comeback if you have a strong enough economy. It's okay if your military is smaller than your opponent. It's okay, as long as you can replace your guys faster than your opponent. Now, obviously, having a military size of 10 versus 90 is not ideal, but you know. He's not quite going to get that castle, unfortunately. Not quite. But, you know, Shine actually in a little bit of trouble on this side, as he has a very, very, very tiny military. The civilian difference between the Viper and Nilfair is astounding. Nilfair has like double the army size of the Viper consistently, but he can't actually push in. Why? Because the Viper's got cash. And not only does he have cash, but he's also able to send it to Jordan to give him a little bit of an edge versus Shine up top, give him that tiny, tiny lead. And Nilfair here, not quite doing so hot in the money front. Still, a little bit of the map control is in favor of NC. They are losing ground, though. I mean, like, this is where a castle was for Nilfair just a minute ago, and the Viper here, his castles are fucking like rabbits and just moving forward slowly and slowly. This does favor Nilfair a little bit, though, because he is able to treb these, and the Viper can't actually pressure anything back, so this is exactly the situation where you want to be in a slow push, where your where the enemy castle is in range of your trebs, but the enemy trebs aren't in range of your castle. That's what you want. So this castle is going to go down, but the Viper's got money to spare because he's got a huge economy. And once again, we see the recurring theme of clashing playstyles. Which playstyle is better? We're going to find out. And judging based on Game 1 and in Game 2, we're seeing that the macro-heavier deathmatch can really, really pay off. But Shine realizing the match is slipping away from their control as Nilfair's eco just too damn weak. He can't really compete with the Viper right now, even though he has a bigger army, as interesting as that is. And the two of them here with some good teamwork, gonna siege ram down these stone walls, send a bunch of Huskarls into the Viper's base, and this is how you make a comeback. Where are the static defenses on this side? They're none. You got these walls, which are great. They don't stop an attack. They're just to provide a warning. And look, the Viper has to pull back guys from this front. Nilfair gaining momentum yet again, because he has to pull back guys. He had to spawn paladins in here to go clear out these pesky infantry units from Shine, and you know, by pulling back all these paladins, there's a ton of paladins. He's starting to lose this side a little bit. As NC gets to push in just a bit more. All these villagers idle as well. They lost a lot of them, and well, Jordan winning the top, but Nilfair here winning the bottom just by a bit. Wow, Nilfair gonna go all in on this side too, and that's an interesting one. As oh man, this is my least favorite part of the Huns, guys, in the super late game when the gold's running out. Oh god, and you gotta make a mangonel, that is just rough. That's just rough. They're made of little popsicle sticks, and they just can't really hold the candle to regular onagers. I love the decision on Cheyenne's part to build bombard cannons, a unit I feel really underutilized in the series between them. Very effective. Kind of like a more mobile trebuchet, and also incredibly good against siege weapons, but Cheyenne's getting actually steamrolled. He needs to do something. The problem is here is that his spawn is being camped. Usually the defender is favored in these situations, unless you're just sending your units in one at a time to die. He needs to mass these guys up to deal with those Huskarls. Not only that, he might need to throw in a couple champions or something like that. But I know why he's not, because there's a crap load of heavy scorpions, so he needs to get a good shot on those heavy scorpions with an onager if he can. Leaving those bombard cannons unattended and those onagers unattended is going to put him really far behind, as every penny is precious. You might start with a ton of money in deathmatch, but you know, you run out of it pretty quickly. Nilfair going all in on this side, though, again, is gonna, you know, keep the Viper busy, but Nilfair running out of steam. You know, when the guy who had the double military all, you know, throughout the entire game over the Viper suddenly has a smaller army size than the Viper, that bodes ill. NC looked like they had this game in the bag, but it just completely fell apart for them. Oh my gosh, as the Viper here with the superior playstyle, we can see just having more villagers here. That macro, guys, you need villagers. You gotta boom, gotta play that farming simulator. And NC made the right call here, taking a risk as they've been doing throughout the entire series. And that did manage to give Niltfaert, you know, some space to breathe, but they just don't have the economy to deal with this, if I'm going to be honest. And they're also just not able to mass up enough guys. I mean, Niltfaert's military size has dropped all the way to a whopping 12. He just attributed everything to Shine because he knows that, again, you know, the Goths are really the ones that are the star of this specific matchup. For one, Niltfaert knows that it's okay if he loses this side because there's nothing actually here. The trade line's all the way back here, right? And it's really hard to get through. He's got a layer of walls over here, so it's okay. It's okay if he loses all this stuff. What's not okay is if Shine loses his base, because the Goths, guys, you need to have the Goths in the late game situation. They are the trash killer kings. He needs to give Shine just a teeny bit of an edge in this matchup, as Jordan has had for quite some time. Shine gonna try and sneak in a couple Huskarls, but Jordan prepared with a bunch of castles on the hills. Gonna mow those down. The Huskarls will live, though, because they are made of steel. Not really gonna get to do too much off this, though. Oh, this is a close game, but Niltfaert's gonna need to get a huge armies now. You know, even though he was huge and the Viper was the one who was weak for most of the game, now the Viper is really big and Niltfaert's really weak. He's got to get an army like stat, otherwise Shine's just gonna get overwhelmed on this front. The Viper coming in here with Paladins, gonna start raiding Shine's economy and just really weaken him. Niltfaert, though, did manage to boom up his economy, and actually the eco size is in favor of it's in favor of NC right now, as NC actually has the bigger eco on all sides. The issue is from a military standpoint, NC is just getting clobbered. They need to mass up guys. Like, they need to set the gather point like back here and start making a group of guys before you engage Jordan, because Jordan just has a larger military size. You never want to send your guys in one at a time in a situation like that. Not too much you can do. The Viper here going to make a great play. So raiding is the great equalizer, but it's also a great way to close out a game as well. It's also a great way to hold an advantage, as he knows that, for one, Niltfaert not a threat in this side, so he doesn't need to keep these guys here. You can't always raid, by the way. You can't always do that. And he's going to just clear out this trade line, really secure the victory for his team. So, wow, yeah, great idea, but the reason this is so important is that Niltfaert has to pull all of his guys back over here. There's no castle here. There's a castle over here, but there's no castle right here. This means that Niltfaert has to pull off all these guys. The Viper gets to inch this line forward over here. NC is done. They're dead. That's the end of the series, as TyRanT Legends is going to take all 5 points versus NC and Friends Arma. NC and Friends Arma did manage to take one game off TyRanT Legends in this series, but they end up coming out of the group stages versus TyRanT Legends with 0 points, unfortunately. It's a shame because they played this series so well. They showed that they are really able to compete with the top Age of Empires 2 teams, but TyRanT Legends still managed to come out on top almost every single time in the end. They didn't play TyRanT didn't play particularly amazingly in Game 1 of the Deathmatch series, as they, maybe they underestimated NC a little bit, just going to show that the getting a stronger economy in Deathmatch, you can't be complacent with the resources that you start with. It's important that you build an eco off that, a very strong eco, and wow, yeah, I don't know, like, NC always had this thing where they were ahead in the early game for the most part. They always looked like they had the game, and then something fell apart later on in the end. Well, it was a close series, even though, I swear it was a close series, even though the 5 points for TyRanT Legends. Hopefully in the future, when I cast other series, it will actually be a lot closer, in that the opposing team will get a lot more points, but these teams were close to evenly matched, but not quite. TyRanT Legends definitely had that, I guess, a superior teamwork and overall, like, game plan over NC a lot of the time. NC made some huge plays, of course, but Cab is the one who does a lot of the strategy and theory crafting for TyRanT, and it really shows. Like, they really had a superior game plan in a lot of those. Like, their win condition was very straightforward. It was only in the deathmatch games that things got things looked a little shakier for TyRanT. They're still strong, but when you look at Game 1, right? Like the Viper here booming off in the corner, he's your win condition. They had no answer to that. That's happened several times before. It happened in the Nomad game in Game 4. So yeah, TyRanT here looking really strong, and I look forward to see how far TyRanT Legends can go in the War is Coming tournament. I hope you guys have been following and enjoying the tournament as much as I have, because boy has it been one hell of a ride, and so is the series. You know, I'm a little disappointed that the series is over because I've been having a lot of fun with this one, but it's time we move on to another series and see how War is Coming turns out. TyRanT Legends, I assume, will go very, very far as they are a really top caliber team with amazing players. What this series really boiled down to, I think, was differences in playstyles. NC was a team that was prepared to take risks, and I think that's important. I do. And then they played it out pretty well for the most part, but for... so it turns out in the end that usually TyRanT Legends' game plan was just a teeny bit better. Just a teeny bit better. Alright, well, let's go check out the achievements, guys. Wow, what a series. Oh, poor NC didn't manage to get 1 point off that, but wow. I mean, this was a crazy last game, guys. This is a 40-minute deathmatch game. I mean, sure, it's on fast speed, so it didn't actually take 40 minutes of real time, but 40 minutes in game time. I mean, that's a lengthy back and forth deathmatch game, and that's how I wanted this series to end. So yeah, well played, well played. Since the Viper had a larger economy, and more villagers, he was able to sling and tribute a ridiculous amount of resources to Jordan, as we can see here. A lot more than Niltfert managed to send, because remember, guys, the Goths are the star player here. They're the real threat, because they have a much wider variety of units that are much better able to close out the game. You're able to mass it up quicker, so the Goths really, really scary. Since the Viper had like 50 villager lead for, maybe like 15 minutes of the game, he managed to sling Jordan so much money, which ended up snowballing the matchup up at the top half of the map. Jordan versus Shine gave Jordan the lead that he needed because of the Viper's massive, massive economy. Niltfert's larger army size didn't actually matter here. As you can see, really the importance of that villager high. Niltfert was behind like 50 villagers, and he had, a much bigger army, but that didn't really matter. He wasn't able to, close it out, and that can be tricky. The Huns versus Huns matchup on Deathmatch, or just in general in the Super late game, can be really snowballing, very difficult to play due to the lack of effective counter units between the sides. But Jordan was able to send units down to the bottom. Like the Viper was able to... What he did is he took the money that he had, and rather than putting it into units that would not be able to do anything versus Niltfert's guys, because when when it's 40 cavalry archers versus 20, the guy with 40 will win unless you have the world's greatest micro, which is pretty hard fast speed in a multiplayer game. He sent it to Jordan, who was able to send Huskarls down to assist the Viper and just really, really clean that up. The Huns have serious issues versus the Goths Huskarls, so... Really well played on TyRanT's part, coming out really strong and ending the best-of-3 part of the 5-game series, looking very, very good. In Game 1, things were a little bit shaky, but this was a pretty decisive victory for them. While close, TyRanT had a really, really strong game plan here, so yeah. What a series, guys. I hope you all enjoyed watching this one as much as I did. Oof. Yeah. I apologize for the series taking so long to upload, but again, my philosophy is quality over quantity. I always try to, always deliver really, really good content. When you see something appear in your inbox from me, you should be like, oh, this is going to be a good video. These commentaries can take me several takes to do, especially when it comes to the War is Coming ones, because there's so many players in the game that I don't want to miss out on any of the action. I want to give you guys the best commentary I can do, and I hope the quality shows. They're very time-consuming, so it might take me some time to pump out this series, but I hope in the end it was worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed the series, because I know I did. Well played to both NC and Friends Arma and, TyRanT Legends. Thank you for giving me one hell of a game series to cast, and of course, I wish TyRanT Legends the best of luck in the rest of the series, and as well, I also wish NC and Friends Arma the best of luck too. Can't wait to see how War is Coming turns out. I would like to do some more War is Coming commentaries. I'm not sure which specific matches I'll do, because this stuff does take me a while, so I can't do too many. But I will do more of this, definitely. The support overall for the series has been tremendous, so appreciate it, you guys. Hearing that people love this so much makes all the time I put in worthwhile. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Wow, what a series. GG, well played. GG, well played. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please do leave me a like rating, as it does help me out a lot. And of course, if you enjoyed watching this video, I have plenty of other Age of Empires 2 videos on my YouTube channel, as well as videos for other games, so if you like this one, you'll probably like those as well. Thank you so much for the support, as always. Great to have you all around. Happy New Year, of course. We're, starting off the new year on a good note, I think. And yeah, we'll see how far TyRanT Legends can go. Wow. GG, well played. I will see you all next time. Oh, yeah, and of course, you're probably aware of this at this point. I don't know how many of you guys actually show up to my live streams, or I don't know if anybody who's watching this specific match is new to my channel, but if you're not aware, I do live stream Age of Empires 2 as well as other games weekly, so if you go on into the video description, you can find my Twitch stream there, and if you show up, I've got my live stream schedule. You just go to my Twitch page, you just scroll down a little bit, you can find my schedule there. At least at the moment, we do Aoe2 every Friday, so love to have you there. Thank you so much for the support, guys. I'll see you all next time. GG, well played. What a series. What a series. Congratulations, TyRanT Legends.